Yes. I'm a dog, I'm a mutt. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da.
So you're good? Recording? Ready?
Yeah.
Everything all good?
Mm-hmm. I am recording and I'm ready.
Great. No time to waste, Phil. We are here to make sure that we deliver the content to the people them. We are not going to be having any fluff, no nonsense. The people them are here to receive high quality content. We've done, as you know, we've done a lot of research. We've done a lot of preparation. And it's time to translate our knowledge, expertise, and research into entertaining and informative content for our listeners. So we will not be vamping for time or just saying things that have no actual impact on our listeners.
That is indeed correct, Dan. We will be doing none of that. None of that whatsoever. You know, I think our listeners come to us for one thing. That is, we get straight to the point. You know, we don't whiffle waffle. No shilly-shallying, as they say.
No higi haga. You know what I'm saying?
No crinkum crankum.
Straight to the meat of the matter. Pause. No bones, no fat. Straight lean steak.
A good rump. You know what I mean? Medium well. How do you like your steak, Dan? Actually, now that
medium rare. If I don't trust the establishment, I might say medium.
Why not? Like, you can easily just cut into it and see if it's underdone or not.
No, that is true. But I also just want to make sure. I never send food back, Phil. If my wife is there, she'll send it back for me. If not, whatever you bring to my table is what I'm eating.
So grown man with a woman fighting his battles. Are you not ashamed?
No, Phil. The chefs and the waiters, they work so hard. You know, it's like.
But the chefs and the waiters aren't involved in the preparation. It's the cook and the chef.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Then the waiter has to bring it, and then he's probably got bills to pay, and that chef has probably got a really stressful time. You know, the sous chefs are probably stressing him out, and I don't want to add to that stress. You know what I mean? I'm getting food. I'm sitting here eating food prepared for me. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter that I ordered the pasta dish and you brought me a pizza instead. Maybe I was wrong. You know, maybe I should have ordered pizza instead.
You're an income.
This is why I married a colored woman from South Africa, to fight my battles and make sure that ain't nobody. You know that meme of Jay-Z standing behind Beyonce.
So you're perpetuating the stereotype that colored people are confrontational.
I'm married to one. I'm not perpetuating a stereotype. I'm simply expressing my reality. Love you, babes.
Okay, have a good weekend. This might be the last episode in a while, guys. So enjoy it while you can.
No. You know how I like to look at it. It's fiery. You know what I'm saying? There are obviously not everyone of every ethnicity is something, but there are certain stereotypes that apply to certain ethnicities, which, seem to, in many cases, be based on real life experience. For example, Latina women are often known to be fiery. That doesn't mean there's no quiet, more demure Latina women. Of course they are. But in general, people can talk about some of the more fiery elements. I believe the same is true of colored women. I believe, they also have the same fire. You know what I mean? The passion. I love it. So yeah. So I will not be sending my meal back, but it will be coming back if that's not what I ordered. But I will also have an apologetic look at the waiter. What was I saying? Yeah, I was saying we get straight to the meat. Consider this a medium rare Wagyu steak with the bone and the extraneous fat cut out, fried, and served on the side just in case you want it. But straight to the meat of the matter. How's your week, Phil? Before we get in, just quick check-in. Doing all right?
Yeah. Zimbabwe continues to beat me down. to beat me down. Yeah. Yeah.
You have a lot in common with OK Group,
Yeah.
Pick and Pay Group.
And much like them, I might be going to court soon. So, yeah. It's one of those.
Look, we've been anticipating that we might need to go to court soon anyway, so it's a good thing that we already sort of mentally prepared for it.
That pending court case is small fry compared to this case. So, but yeah, it'll be a good warm-up. It'll be good preparation, I guess.
Anyway, our listeners are not here to listen to problems. In fact, we've been told before, we're tired of hearing your problems on the podcast.
No, they haven't said it in a while. I think, guys, we've also got to reflect the time. Dan, as Nina Zabone says, as artists, as creatives, we need to reflect the times. And let's be honest, the times are tough. The times are tough.
Okay. So I'm going to tell. So there's a little project we're working on radio. So we were linking up with a bunch of artists this week. And one of the artists was our mutual friend Gemma, so we're linking up with her. And then she often has very creative, artsy, funky people around her. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, I was looking at these guys. So I said to this one girl, I was like, you know what? I also used to be cool. I see you. I understand. And then she's like, okay. I'm like, no, I'm serious. I used to be cool. Okay. I used to go to cool things. I used to go to like events. I used to go to like those underground events that aren't really like out there. It's only for the people in the know. You know what I'm saying? And you just kind of hanging out with the coolest people wearing dope fashion. I wasn't wearing the dope fashion, but I was around people who were wearing dope fashion. You know what I'm saying? And we were having dope conversations and you'd just be seeing cool stuff. I was you 10 years ago. I understand. And I'm looking at you now and I say you must hold on to that creative spark that you have. I was wearing a suit at the time and I had my laptop open and I was doing emails. And it just hit me that that creative spark that used to exist, Phil. Mm-hmm. Life happens and we get serious. And I get it. It's part of growing up. You get older. We're in our late 30s now. You know what I'm saying? Life is different to when you're in your early 20s. It would be weird if it was the same. But, I was looking and I was really reminiscing. I was like, I get it. And I used to be cool. I used to be cool like you. Anyway, so when you called us creatives right now, it just reminded me of that stark realization that I had earlier this week. That, life changes. You get serious. I don't ever want to be too serious, but you get serious. You know what I mean? Mm. Anyway, enough of somber reflection and introspection. I'm not upset at my life. I think I'm happy with the way things have gone. I still remain in creative spaces. I still get to exercise some of my creative juices, but also I've grown up a little bit and I deal with grown man problems and things. It is what it is. But, I was just remembering life in the 20s, early 20s was just fun, I guess, Yeah. Anyway, let's get into it,
I would
Phil.
play a violin if we weren't going to get taken down from Spotify, but yeah.
What, you can't find a non-copyrighted violin?
No, as a sign of protest, we're not playing any music, and the boredom will drive our listeners to petition Spotify to get their act together.
Okay, all right. I'm getting into this. I have to ask Phil. Y'all
good to go.
Sound of it, sing them.
Let me hear a drum play.
Welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast. This is Two Broke Twimbos. My name's Danny, that guy, aka Danos, the Mad Titan, aka Denfoot, aka My Life Your Entertainment. No, aka Denimbi, My Life Your Entertainment, aka I'm done with these streets. Catch me with $185,000 in the car, sleeping somewhere I shouldn't be sleeping, and losing it in the morning. What? Aka Hakuna Mumwendi Danmu. No, scratch that. I want to have a different intro. Okay, I'm done with these streets. I regret some of the things I said about Donald Trump last week.
Did you go too far?
That's
right. He's the unmistakable, the unquestionable, the irrefutable, the catch me with a gas heatable. Phil Chard, aka Flint Floss, the big boss, baby, aka Pizza P, aka Sexton Lovo, aka Filthy Phil, aka Apologist Musk, aka DJ God, Sexton Lovo, and of course, somebody taking a drink. What's up, man? You good?
Yeah. We out here.
I think I'm gonna add this, that, and the third to one of my AKAs. So it has come to my attention apparently that I say this, that, and the third a lot, and this was a shock to me because I don't even use that phrase. I don't
use it so much. You use that phrase so much.
Dan, when?
Okay, I assume we have transcripts of our podcast.
I'm actually copying a transcript right now to see when I've said this.
Okay.
I'm actually looking up the transcript right now.
Find 5 random episodes in the past. You will find at least 3 this, that, and the thirds in there. But
what's the context I use?
I expect more.
I don't really, like, it feels like a foreign thing because I can't even think of the context I'd use that phrase in.
Picture anything where you're listing a lot of different things. Or picture a context where maybe if you were writing, you'd write ETC. You say this, that, and the third. It is what it is.
Oh, this, that, and the third. Okay.
Wait, did you just come across one?
No. Now that you give me the context, I think I can imagine myself saying that. Okay.
Yeah. So you'd be like, no. The thing is, when you look at like some of the things that you do, maybe you do this, maybe you do this, and this, that, and the third, and then you got it comes up a lot. I mean, I haven't like noticed it per se, but when I saw someone mention it in the group, I chuckled a little bit. I was like, yeah, Phil does say that a lot.
You guys are all bastards, all of you.
Why this is not a bad thing? I don't understand what you're stressed about. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about some Africans doing big things. Oh, okay, yeah. Let's go straight into it. Let's go straight into like celebration of dope things. Listen, there's been a lot of football that has been bedeviling the nation recently. That's because Zimbabwe has been embroiled in the COSAFA Cup. Unfortunately, Zimbabwe has been knocked out of the group stages, despite our most recent game in the COSAFA Cup being a 3-1 win over Mozambique, but that was a dead rubber, unfortunately.
Sorry, Dan. I just loaded up last episode. I said it twice. This is hilarious.
I think you should lean into it. We can get merch. We get like hats, caps, jackets, this, that, and the third. We'll keep it going. Anyway, back to our celebration of some dope Zimbabweans. Zimbabwe has been involved in the COSAFA Cup, which has been ongoing. This week, on Tuesday, the final Group A match was between Zimbabwe and Mozambique. Thankfully, we were able to defeat Mozambique 3-1, but unfortunately, it was not enough for us to make it into qualification to the next round. So unfortunately, Zimbabwe is eliminated. Zimbabwe finishes on 4 points, tied with Mozambique and South Africa. However, South Africa tops the group due to a superior goal difference. Zimbabwe is in second place. Mozambique is in third. Mauritius in fourth. And unfortunately, only first place goes through, apparently. So yeah.
Discrimination.
However, despite that being the fact, at the end of the group stages, COSAFA released their best 11, the group stage best 11. And we had a Zimbabwean player, Tandolwe Nkosi Ngwenya. He was named in the best 11 of the COSAFA Cup so far, the group stages. He scored a brace for Zimbabwe, by the way, in this last game against Mozambique as well. So shout out to Tando Ngwenya doing your thing. We also are going to shout out the various Africans that represented at the BET Awards. So I think we'll get into that a little bit more. But yeah, so shout out to African Zimbabweans doing their thing. I also want to take this moment to, say a word of encouragement, I guess, or just to acknowledge the people in the Eastern Cape. I don't know if you've heard the news that's coming out from Eastern Cape right now, Phil.
No, what's happening there?
So literally today, there's been rescue teams deployed throughout the Eastern Cape because of floods and snow even. There's estimated death tolls that are in excess of 50 people. And I'm sure it's going to be worse as they discover more things. So there were floods, landslides, snow, and sub-zero temperatures in some areas. And there's as the water subsides, officials are saying more bodies are being discovered. So it's looking very bleak out there in the Eastern Cape, that side over there.
Man, that's tough. Jeez Louise.
Also, all over my timeline, and I can understand why. Today there was a huge plane crash, the Air India flight that was coming out of
I
India.
heard about that, man. All 242 people, is that correct?
Yeah.
Oh,
All 200 and I couldn't remember the exact figure, but 240 something. I guess 242. Dead. So, and on top of that, the plane crashed into a student doctor's hostel. So I think there's estimates of 30 something or something like med students that were also killed.
Oh, jeez Louise.
So thoughts and prayers also with the people of India. And man, it's just like tragic news. Sheesh. But yeah, I just thought to mention that at the beginning of the podcast as well, because I've been seeing it all over.
But I think, not to be that type of person, I think we've somehow become desensitized to it, because in the past few weeks, I don't know if you've been following, but there have been a lot of escalated raids against Palestinians once again. So children have been dying, civilians are dying. We still got what's going on in Ukraine. We still got what's going on in Syria. We still got what's going on in Congo. We still got what's going on in Sudan. We still got what's going on in pretty much damn near everywhere. Most of the hotspots in the world. So we just become desensitized to it. And it's sad. But it really is. It really is critical times,
Hard to deal with, Phil. Hard to deal with.
But yeah, man. I can't imagine what that's like. So I can tell you a funny little anecdote. So I think Dan, you've met Fred.
I'm gonna say yes, but I
so
know at least three Freds.
Fred's my little cousin who grew up with us. So I basically, like, when I actually used to raise him. Like when he was a baby, I used to like look after him as a baby. He used to sleep in my room, and this kid used to have the worst case of marados ever. Like I'd put him to bed, and at 3 a.m. he'd be upside down against the wall on the other side of the room. This was a common occurrence with him. But now he's grown up. He's become a man. He's about to embark on his career and his professional venture. So his first major trip was to Beijing. So he's currently in Beijing right now, and he's very excited, of course. So he's out there, and my man's was sending updates, video, family. Like the family group has never been this busy ever. Every day we're literally getting vlogs. We're getting texts, we're getting updates. Oh, I ate this. Oh, this is. Oh, so-and-so was on the plane. Oh, blah, 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 blah. And at that moment when I read the news, I was just like, I couldn't help but stop to think, like, what if that was someone you knew? Like, can you imagine, like, because that flight was going from India to London. It's not a far-fetched idea that some of those passengers were students going to school.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine, like, as a parent, you save up, you work all your life, you've saved up pinched pennies for years upon years to get your child into a university. They're now embarking on the next phase of their life. And 5 minutes after takeoff, that's heart-wrenching, bro.
I also think, like, there's so many things happening in the world that are more, shall we say, deadly than 240 people. But I think it also really captures our imagination a little bit, because if you've ever taken a flight, you have to convince yourself that this is safe. And then when this kind of news comes out, it could have been me, could have been someone I know, could have been someone close to me.
Yeah, it taps into a fear, even sometimes an illogical fear, because even after this accident, flying by air is still statistically the safest form of travel in the world. But still,
I know that, Phil. But like, just think about it. It's like
scary.
It's just.
I know what you're saying. I'm agreeing with you. That's what I'm saying. Like, I can understand it feeding into that final destination. I don't want to go out like this fear that people have. And
it's like you can't do anything. Like in a car, you could do something. You can try something.
Can't do it.
No, I mean, at least you believe you can. But you can't do any in a flight. Like, it's a tube, a death tube of metal just being hurled through the sky. And
Or is that terminology? It's not a death tube. People need to stop saying things.
sorry, I'm just a little freaked out by everything.
So wait, are you the type? Based on your reaction, Dan, are you the type of person like when you've hit turbulence? I'm not going to discuss the feelings after turbulence, but after like the turbulence is cleared and the flight is now steady and the pilot comes on the microphone, are you the one that starts clapping?
No.
You seem like a clapper. You seem like a clapper.
I'm not a clapper.
When you land safely, you're like,
No, that's embarrassing. But let me tell you what I am. I am the guy who calculates, definitely die. Okay, here, if we might survive. Okay, we're good now. On takeoff and landing. So I'll be like, I'll literally looking out the window like, if things go wrong, we're dead. If things go wrong, we're dead. Okay, at this altitude, there's a possibility of surviving. Okay, now we're close to touching down. I think we're likely to. Okay, cool, we're safe now. I do think that.
interesting.
But thankfully, I don't think I really feel flying anxiety.
That's the weird thing with me is like whenever I'm in near death experiences, I don't feel fear. I feel fear in other things. Like my anxiety is weird like that. Like I remember there's one time I spun out with the car. So me and my sister were coming from school. I don't know if you've been to Matraya, but people that know Christmas Pass know it's a very windy Tokyo drift type road. And we're going down the hill. I was 16, 17, so I was a little heavy on the accelerator, but I wasn't going too crazy. But what had happened was there was a tractor that was on the road that was spilling oil. So it had spilled like a pool of oil on the road and then
like
went off
deliberately?
to the side. No, it was leaking, obviously. So it had broken down on the side of the road. So I didn't see the pool of oil because it was translucent and you couldn't see it against the asphalt. As I'm taking the turn, hit the oil, car starts essentially aquaplaning. I do a full 360, end up in the opposite lane. And luckily I was able to maneuver and get out of the way of a 18-wheel truck coming up that road. So me and my sister just look at each other. We don't say anything. We're just shaking, right? Don't say anything all the way home. The moment we get home, my sister just goes to her room and just starts bawling. And I'm a kid. So like my first thing is like, don't tell mom and dad. Don't tell mom and dad. But in the moment, I was actually more scared of her telling my parents than I was of the actual accident. At all the times I've taken flights, like when people are panicking and like we're hitting like a snowstorm, not a snowstorm, a lightning storm or clouds or whatever, and the plane is shaking. It's like, it's cool. Well, if I die, I die. It is what it is. I'm like, did I make sure? Do people have access to my passwords? Do they have access to my passwords? Yeah, they still have access to my passwords. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, cool.
The important things, yeah.
Yeah, all I just be thinking like, hey, is my life insurance covered so that they can repatriate my body if they need to? All right, cool, because I know that's expensive. I don't want to be a burden in death. Now, that's the other thing. You don't want to be a burden in death.
Phil, come on, man. Come on, dog. Don't be thinking that.
Okay, I'm also being blunt on Dan. I've dealt with depression and anxiety since I was a teenager. Do you know how many times I've thought about my suicide? It's why we have mental health. Like one of the reasons we had mental health Mondays was because I'm a suicidal person. So I've thought about it. I don't get scared about it anymore. It's just like a matter of fact thing. Like, there's a likelihood I might die. At least, I can sleep. I'll be at peace. So,
On that cheery note, we would like to welcome you to the podcast and really say that today is going to be a great Actually, I was going to say, I had opened my Twitter as we were talking earlier. And first thing I see is apparently there was a single survivor from the Air India flight. He was sitting in seat 11A, and he apparently jumped out of the plane before impact. So he's like severely injured and stuff, but he survived.
What?
So
he opened the door?
Disclaimer, I'm seeing this on Elon's Twitter.
Okay, but so then why are you saying it, Dan? Come on.
Because
it's not confirmed.
I'll tell you why. Because it is being said by multiple people and there's people with pictures. So I'm going to investigate further.
Do you know what? This actually touches on, I was going to bring it up in the movies and TV section, but I think we might have to bring it up now. But before I get to that, I need to understand. Wait, plane is going down.
Phil, I literally just opened it now. I don't know. I don't know the details.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm trying to just get an understanding. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just trying to get a summary.
Yeah.
So for him to jump out of the plane, this is a commercial 787 Dreamliner. This is a massive plane, one of the biggest aircraft in the world. So my man's plane is going down. at rapid speed, pressurized cabin. He was clearly paying attention to the stewardess's instructions, except he missed the one point where she says, "Don't open the door until we've landed." And the plane has come to a halt.
Confirmed.
So my man's
it's on Al Jazeera. Just confirmed. One lone survivor.
Hold on. I'm still getting. So some way, somehow, my man's manages to open the door. So twist, push, throw the door through the back. Dealing with the depressurization of the cabin, jumps out and somehow survives. Yo, this is some Van Damme right here, bruh.
Someone's gonna make a movie out of this because
what?
Shout out to my man. So there's no details about how he survived so far. Literally 16 minutes ago, update: one survivor reported as Air India plane crash in Ahmedabad kills 240 people.
Nah, guys, I'm still stuck. You know, I think would have been okay. You know, I can't. It's in poor taste. Never mind. It's in poor taste.
Yeah. This is insane, man. Anyway, yeah. So
we're living in crazy times, yo.
Crazy times. We move. Last week, Phil, I saw a lot of people were very, shall we say, touched by my story of experiencing Bali Belly.
It really was a talking point, you know.
Including rival podcast, The Feeling Station. I don't know if you saw the post that they put up.
I did. I think Tinto was feeling your feelings.
Shout out Tinto, and shout out to you for listening to the podcast and sharing your feelings. But just to let everyone know, in case you didn't know, he says, after listening to almost an hour-long convo about poo, I can't believe how excited two Broke Twimbos got about poo and vomit. They dropped an absolute gem. Anzi, a good measure of character is your reaction to rejection. That hit hard because I've been there before. So, and then someone responds to him and says, yeah, Danny and Phil are always nuts. I feel like this is a misrepresentation. Guys, we have over 400 episodes of this podcast, which is insane if you think about it.
That's damn near half a. Let's say I was about to drop some horrible maths. Let's say we do 90 minutes an episode. This is average out to 90 minutes an episode times 400. That's 36,000 minutes of wafflage.
In that time, of course, we have spoken about bodily functions.
Once or twice. Actually, you know what, Dad, I'm actually going to undercut our comment. I remember there was a time someone hit us up and they wanted to do a Two Broke Twimbos comic, and they'd sent through a few panels of what the Two Broke Twimbos comic was. Do you remember that person?
I forgot
what is one of those panels?
I forgot. Remind me. But I remember we were thinking this is ridiculous.
One of the panels was taken from one of our toilet stories. It was when we were discussing taking an away game dump and there's no water. Because, you know, sometimes in Harare, you go to someone's house and you don't realize there's no running water.
Look, I will acknowledge that it may have come up once or twice. But in 400 episodes, I think that the gems, you know, the statements that reveal true character, the little, you know, one-liners that stick with you for a lifetime are more common. Anyway, that was also a conversation about medical and help. Also, someone accused me of recommending a place in Harare that gave them the bubble guts. This was
Which
the
place was this?
I mean, I don't want to. Okay, sometime back, I spoke about a dinner I had at Old Rock. It was a very traditional food, and I was quite impressed with the traditional food that we're given. The food was good. The portions they gave us was good. This was back when it did close to being open. We were being hosted by someone. I was like, it was kind of dope.
Why didn't you warn them about what has happened at Old Rock in the past year and a half?
What has happened at Old Rock in the past year and a half?
Oh,
I haven't been there in the past year and a half.
No.
Anyway,
no.
My point was,
you don't want. Oh no, you know.
What?
No, Dan. No, you don't want to. Oh no.
Why? What is that?
I don't know. I don't know what it's like now. Now that, let me put it this way, Dan. Our meal was free and I still didn't touch it.
Anyway, but the point is, I went there shortly after it reopened. Someone was hosting me. The food we had was great, and I just spoke about my experience. That was not an endorsement, nor was it a recommendation. When there's a recommendation, I will explicitly state so. In fact, maybe I need to go back to that episode and hear if I said that. But yeah, I will explicitly state this is a recommendation, not paid for. I'll also explicitly state that. But anyway, I just thought to quickly address that from our last episode. Something that's been buzzing in our Patreon group this past week, Phil, is people's reactions to the BET Awards. Did you have a chance to watch them?
Oh, yes, I did. I watched them last night.
Same.
BET Awards ever.
They were pretty good. But there were some things I had complaints about, but I did enjoy it overall. Also, I haven't finished. I've watched like 80% of it. I'll finish the last few minutes.
So how can you have a rebuttal when you haven't even watched the other half of it?
I've watched most of it, and my point is I enjoyed it, but I also have some things that I didn't like.
Sure. Like what?
Like a few of Kevin's jokes weren't really landing. Like the whole section they had with the real husbands of Hollywood. Like that whole section just wasn't. It was just like a little.
But Dan, as a host and as yourself, I'm sure you know about Shia jokes.
This
but
is
also,
not. This
also
is not.
Keep in mind that was an ad. That wasn't just a skit. It was an ad.
I am aware. I think for Walmart, right? I'm not trying to imply. This is not criticism coming from a place of, well, it sucked because of this. No, I enjoyed it. I'm just pointing out I'm starting off with a few of the things that I thought were a bit meh. So a couple of jokes didn't quite land. Like even when he was like going at Kirk Franklin, you could see that my man wasn't feeling it.
Oh, that was hilarious. I loved that.
It was funny.
Well,
it was funny.
Well, clearly, you also haven't finished them. So when you finish the awards, you'll see that there's actually a very hilarious payoff to that joke.
Okay, cool. We'll get into that. And then what else? Yo, Mariah's performance was dead, man. A dead thing.
Yo, dude. It's Mariah. She's not leaving the house for less than 200,000. B, her voice has been vastly, what's the word?
Affected, shall we say?
No, it's not what it used to be. And that's been common knowledge for quite some time. Plus, she was also lip syncing. Plus, also, I think they were paying by the minute because a lot of those performances were literally just one verse, chorus. Okay, bye. Because we can't afford the full song, and there were a lot of performances. It was 3.5 hours, so it was a substantial award show.
But great, some of those performances were great. Like like Ashanti was amazing. Oh man, I was feeling like.
There was a few sound issues. I found there was sound issues on Ashanti's performance and then with B2K's performance. They fixed them during the performance, but like the feed I had, I think on the version that aired on TV, they probably fixed it. But I watched them live, so yeah.
To be fair, B2K's and Bow Wow's performances probably weren't like A1 top tier, but for the nostalgia factor, it kind of crossed it over. I feel
also
like it's the same with
that Bow Wow did Let Me Hold You. Ciara was in the building. Came to the stage 5 minutes later.
How fire would it have been? Yeah. How fire would it have been to just get her to do that part? Just like da-da-da-da. Anyway, but it was still nice to hear that even B2K and get Lil Fizz and Omarion and everyone in the room at the same time.
Fam, I was also marveling at. I was like, guys, Omarion's a better man than me. I guess you know what I mean. Either he's a better man or he really wants the money. But fam, taking my baby moms the way you did, and I still have to work with you. No, you shall die. You shall be the late Fizz.
Yeah, Phil, at some point you forgive. You learn to forgive. Life is about forgiveness. You can't hold on to things forever. Anyway, long story short, the BET Awards, they were fun. I enjoyed watching them. The performances were dope. At least what I've seen. I think I've got like maybe 40 minutes to go.
No, I love them. In fact, let me pull up. You pull up the winners. Let me pull up a summary. I think I made some notes here.
Yeah, I didn't take notes this time. I should have. The same that I've done in the past. But okay. First of all, obviously, huge shout out to Kendrick Lamar. He was the big winner. I think he had 5 was
wins.
That correct? 5 awards.
5 wins. Yeah.
Sorry, it's still loading. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So he had 5. He had been nominated for 10 awards. So, 50%. Shout out to Kendrick Lamar. Also, real quick, SZA won Best Pop R&B.
Yeah.
Best Female Pop R&B. And, she couldn't be there to receive her award. And then like 10 minutes later, you see her hyping up Kendrick and whatever. I was like, man, can you all come on time, man? This is so frustrating because we're trying to make this thing run, but you late. Anyway. Also, SZA. I don't even care that is all the imagination of a surgeon. Surgeon did good work. You did good work.
You did good stuff. That's the best ad. That's the best ad. You know what I mean? I would like if I was the surgeon, I wouldn't even be doing content like Dr. Miami. Every day, all I just post photos of SZA. That's all I post. Just a photo.
Shout out to my mans because I know you did job. Rent was due. Doechii won Best Female Hip Hop. Let me actually put
that was actually an interesting one because I was playing the politics game with the person I was watching with, and I was like, and they were like, well, I think with that one they expected Glorilla to win, and I was like, yes, Glorilla would win, but Doechii's gonna win it. And they're like, why does people like her? I'm like, it's not that people like her, it's like she's gonna win it. Look how much screen time she's been getting. Yeah, and look where she's sitting. Then
Taz
secondly,
Taz said that as well. She's like, yo, they're showing Doechii a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
the second thing I noticed was, so I was like, but they've given Glorilla quite a substantial amount of screen time as well, and they've seated her prominently, and she's performing. She's going to win something. What is she going to win? Lo and behold, she won Best Gospel?
The Dr. Bobby Jones Best Gospel / Inspirational Award for the song Rain Down on Me.
And when they were running through the nominees, I was like, there's a lot of secular worldly music in this category. There was Rhapsody, there was Pete Rock, there was Glorilla. I was like, okay, but you know what? You had to give Kirk Franklin another award because he was performing and closing off the night. Plus, he was getting an Icon Award. Also, I've never seen so many Icon Awards given in one night.
Yeah.
Do you know the wild thing is, I still don't think Stevie Wonder has been given an Icon Award yet. Oh no, they did. They gave him last year. Did they finally give him? Did Stevie one?
I don't remember. But I feel like I remember him having received one.
No, it was. I remember it. It has always been a thing.
So okay, let me quickly run through the winners, and then we'll also go through some of the highlights. I mean, we enjoyed watching, and we were talking about it in the Patreon group, and whatever the Patreon people love, we talk about. So I mentioned already, Best Female R&B and Pop went to SZA. Best Male R&B and Pop went to Chris Brown. Best Group went to Future and Metro Boomin. Best Collaboration went to Kendrick Lamar and SZA for Luther. Best Male Hip Hop Artist, Kendrick Lamar. Best Female Hip Hop Artist, Doechii. Video of the Year, Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar. Video Director of the Year, Dave Free and Kendrick Lamar. Best New Artist, Leon Thomas. Album of the Year, GNX by Kendrick Lamar. As Phil has already alluded to, Best Gospel went to Glorilla featuring Kirk Franklin and Maverick City. Best Actress went to Cynthia Erivo. Best Actor, Denzel Washington. Best Movie, Luther, Never Too Much. Young Stars Award, Blue Ivy Carter. Sportswoman of the Year, Angel Reese, Sportsman of the Year, Jalen Hurts. And the BET Her Award went to Summer Walker. Best International Act, huge shout out to Ira Star from Nigeria. And Best New International Act from South Africa, TXC. And then also, apparently they had two winners, Julia Costa from Brazil.
Oh, nice.
So,
I was going to say, did you see Clarissa Shields' tweets after losing to Angel Reese? She was basically like, I thought these awards mattered.
She said, I love what?
I said, I thought these awards were based on accomplishments.
Yeah, rough.
But to be fair, she's not wrong. She's an 18-time world champion. Angel Reese didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, but this is what are the BET awards? Some kind of objective measure of value, or is it a popularity contest?
That is the thing we need to discover. What is it? Is it one or the other? And I think that is the mystery we must solve.
Remember, Phil, we already said before when we were looking at the nominees a couple of weeks ago, we already knew Doechii was going to win. Or
and that's so. And I you have a point, but I think so with music, right? The problem they have here is with music award shows, it's qualitative. So your success is based on qualitative assessment. So people can justify a Macklemore winning over Kendrick Lamar, even though people that understand the genre are like, no, that's ridiculous. But you can say qualitatively, I enjoyed the Macklemore album. It resonated more with me than the Kendrick Lamar album. And you can't dispute that. But for sportswoman or sportsperson of the year, isn't that more quantitative? It's like, what have you achieved in the past 12 months?
I'll tell you why that's very difficult to go that route, because there's so many sports and so many disciplines and so many different ways of measuring success. So it would be very difficult to I get what you're saying. Like, you can qualitatively measure success as a sports person. But what makes you a sports person of the year? Is it that you were successful? Is it that you inspired people? Is it that people like you? Is it that, more people watch the sport because of you? Were you mentioned more than anyone else on black entertainment television? Those are all potentially metrics that could be used to measure a sportsman or sportsperson of the year.
Fair dinkum, but yeah, I think she had a point. She just shouldn't have said it out loud. She seems very salty. But yeah, Peppus likes them strong and messy. Peppus likes his women strong and messy.
Isn't this just like that whole Zabalenka comments on Coco Gauff?
No, the difference there is Zabalenka got beat 6-1, 6-1. So you didn't. It's not like you made mistakes. You got mollywopped. If you got beaten straight sets, honey.
The moment I heard,
you won 2 games. You won 2 games in the match. If it was like a 6-5, 7-6, 2-hour, 3-hour battle royale, we'll be like, yeah, cool. Mistakes lost you the match, fam. You got your ass kicked.
So, in case you're wondering what we're talking about, Coco Gauff came through as the winner of Roland Garros after defeating Arina Zabalenka. Yeah, Arina Zabalenka in the final. Now, in the interview afterwards, she said, in fact, it's probably better if I play it directly. Let me see if I can.
No. Actually, I misquoted. So it was first set, Zabalenka won it 7-6.
Yeah.
Then thereafter, a second set, 6-2. Third set, 6-4. You still got mollywopped.
Yeah, but I mean, so she's being interviewed, and then she says, "Hold on, let me actually play it so I don't misquote, because I have some thoughts." Here we go.
Tough matches, really incredible players, and I played. Definitely better level than in the final. It was really, honestly, the worst tennis I played in the last, I don't know how many months. And the conditions were terrible, and she simply was better in these conditions than me. And I think it was the worst final I ever played.
Do you think there was a momentum shift in the first set, because you started the match really well? You led 4-1. What happened at 4-1? Do you think that's Coco got better, or the conditions got tougher?
Yeah, I think it was more windy and got more windy, and also I think I was over emotional, and I think today I didn't really handle myself mentally. No. I would say so. Basically, that's it. I was just making unforced errors. Like, I don't know. I have to check the statistics. I think she won the match not because she played incredible, just because I made all of those mistakes from, like, if you look from the outside, kind of like from an easy balls.
Basically, it was Zabalenka saying, I thought context is important, because the moment I heard this, I knew, like, your PR game is completely off. This is terrible. She basically said, and it was in response to a question, like, did you think the momentum changed when it got to 4-1, blah, 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 blah. And then she says, yeah, look, when I was looking like in my game, I think she won not because she played incredibly, but because I made a lot of mistakes. That's kind of a sore loser vibe. But the way people then took those comments was almost like she went and she said, she's not good, I'm better than her. She just won because I made mistakes. She didn't exactly say that.
So there's so many things. Sorry, am I cutting you off? Did you want to say something?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I was actually thinking about this earlier today. One, these are athletes, elite athletes. She was ranked number 1. She was the number 1 seed. And I believe she's number 1 in the world. You don't get that good without being a sore loser. So, yeah. Also, she just lost. So, of course she's going to be upset. Of course she's going to be spicy. It's like, I can understand the defensiveness, especially from black people, because we've seen this with Serena. We've seen it before. So, yes, I think it's very good for our ears to pick up and be like, Watch yourself there. You know what I mean? We don't like what you're saying. But but at the same time, we praise our athletes for being sore losers. That's what makes them great athletes.
Yeah, it's like have you seen all the talk about Lamine Yamal and his cockiness at 17?
And that was also such a dumb thing. He's 17. He's 17. It's like that video of that kid, I forget his name. There was a popular streamer who's 16, who was trying to get into the BET Awards, and he was trying to go in with his cameras. And everyone was like, my guy, you late for the red carpet, and you're not getting in here with your cameras. And I'm like, no, but I'm on stream. I was invited. And he even calls Kai Sanat. And Kai Sanat's my guy, leave the camera in the car and come inside. And he's like, I just want to stream. But I'm like, yes, he's a 16-year-old. Their brains haven't developed yet. That's how they think. They're idiots.
So obviously, I think this was sore loser behavior from Sabalenka. But I also think like you guys are you're over blowing this up into a race war or something.
She's supposed to be a sore loser.
She was literally answering the question like, what happened? And she's like, yo, look. And then I think she put out a statement afterwards trying to clarify and saying, look, I'm not trying to say she won fair and square. I wasn't trying to say that she didn't deserve to win. I was just trying to explain that I made a lot of mistakes. And that's literally the definition of played better than me. Because I made mistakes and you didn't, so you played better than me. But at the same time, I don't want to defend her because what she said is sore losery. But like, I feel like people then took it like to the next level. Anyway, what were we talking about? What was the original premise of what we were talking about?
We're just recapping. We're talking about Clarissa Shields' BT Awards.
There we go. That's what we're talking about. BET Awards. Oh yeah. So we listed the winners, and I guess you also wanted to mention some of the other highlights.
So yeah, I was gonna say, so that Anne-Marie performance, the Tiny Desk performance, was not a fluke because she was struggling. She was struggling at the awards. I don't know if you saw her performance.
Yeah. Phil. Anne-Marie's performance wasn't that bad. Come on.
It was. Her vocals were not great. Her vocals were not great.
To be fair, if that's one thing like I mentioned, I mean, you know. But there was maybe I watched the TV version because I didn't watch it live, and her vocals didn't sound bad in that. The person who had let me try and remember the performances I saw. I loved the whole 2000s thing in the beginning with Ashanti and then Jim Jones.
Well, it was throughout the show, but yeah, I loved it too.
The one where they did the medley in the beginning, then obviously they did more stuff, right? But the Rap City throwback, like I liked the reference, but the sound wasn't great. So like when Big Tigger came on, then Luda came on, and then the whole Kevin Hart thing, again, like
Chocolate
it would have been
Dropper,
funny.
Get it right. It was Chocolate Dropper.
Sorry, Chocolate Dropper. It would have been funny if he did like 8 bars and we leave it at that, or less even. But like you kind of overdid it a little bit. Anyway, Ashanti, I thought was amazing. I thought Anne-Marie was good. I thought B2K was fun, a fun callback. I thought Lil Wayne.
That was actually a good performance. I was considering the weekend. I was like, is he going to remember the words? Maybe that's also why he finished immediately after one verse.
I liked the setup and I liked the hype and all of that, but he was very like, look at the other rappers, man. They have an energy that he didn't have. But to his credit,
when you say energy, what do you mean? Like he came and he was performing on a standing mic. Like what
command of the stage. I don't have the English, but
that's why I don't see that way. I felt that was an incredible performance, and also considering everything, I'm sure he wanted to maintain breath control. He wanted to deliver his vocals. His vocals were crystal clear, great breath control
for his 1.5 songs. Yeah, it was breath control was very important.
Oh, really? Okay, you being spicy, but Playboy Carti was on that stage as well. Then, so
I hold Lil Wayne to a higher standard because I was once the biggest Lil Wayne fan in the world.
Okay, but here's my question, and I'm not trying to be spicy when I ask you this, but it's a genuine question. Have you seen Wayne live?
I have seen videos, never in person, but they always seem to. I liked that his enunciation was crystal clear. Isn't that the bare minimum?
No, I'm slow walking you, Dan. I'm slow walking you. I'm slow walking you to the point, and you're not getting it right. With the
Tell me.
the videos that you've watched of him at his peak, how would this performance at the BT Awards compare to Wayne performing at his peak?
Here's where I want to push back before we even go down this route. I am not trying to compare to what he's done before. I am thinking, was it a good performance or not? Now, I think I would give it maybe a 6.5 to a 7 out of 10.
No. Against his old stuff or in general?
You see, in general.
No. At this point, Wayne is a legacy act. You're not comparing him with anyone else. You're comparing Wayne with himself. At a certain point in a legacy artist act, you're no longer comparing them with the competition. You're comparing them to themselves. It's the same thing with Carter 6. Carter 6, we're not comparing him to other rappers. We're comparing him to himself. And we're saying,
No, I refuse. This is black entertainment television, not black. How do you compare to other people?
You're missing what I'm trying to say is
what is my entertainment level from this performance?
No, Dan, you're missing what I'm trying to say is what I'm trying to say is you're expecting someone to deliver a performance far and beyond what they've ever done. It's impossible.
I'm not expecting. I am rating his performance as it is in front of me. Period.
No, and I'm saying to you
that is not. I'm saying
your 6 can be fair, right? And I'm saying your 6 can be a fair rating. But what I'm saying is, compared to what his body of work has shown us, that is very good Wayne performance. And remember what we said last week? You date at your level. Wayne has told us what his level is as a performer.
Speaking of which, have you listened to the new album?
No, because I love myself. I saw it and I was like, you know what? I can't break my heart. I can't.
I haven't been able to bring myself to do it.
You guys don't understand. Like,
I took headphones. I was like, I'm listening to this Wayne album.
From dedication.
I was like, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
From dedication to drought. The Carter 1 is actually one of my favorite albums sentimentally because there's a whole family backstory behind how I got that album. Listening to it, I was like, yo, is this the same guy from Bling Bling? Is this the same guy from Cash Money?
For me, it's the Carter 2. I love that album.
The Carter 1 will always hold a special place in my heart. I even remember when it was still making music, we even did like a replica version of the Carter 1 with technique in them. So that project holds a special place in my heart. So just based on that and seeing what the timeline was saying and then hearing a few samples and seeing the lyrics, and then Anthony Fantano gave it a 1. I was like, nope, I'm not doing this. I can't. I'm not.
Apparently, Pitchfork gave it like a 2 point something out of 10. I was even just in the group, what people were saying in our Patreon group, I was just like, man, this is breaking my heart, man. But to be fair, even Carter 5 wasn't great.
Yeah. Carter 5, I gave it one listen. Remember, actually, we spoke about it on the podcast. It won a few songs. But I also think Wayne should retire the Carter series. No good comes from a franchise after the 4th installment.
Yeah.
I believe there's someone who was saying, like, you're not in Police Academy territory. You're in Fast and the Furious territory. You know? Yeah. It's like, just leave it on a high and move on. Like, you can just start a new series, start a new, just call it something else.
Drought 3. Oh, man. Dedication. Oh, man.
The lighter is gone. The lighter has no more butane. It is gone.
That's unfortunate. But look, let's not cry about where we are now. Let's smile about where we once were.
That is true.
At some point I will listen to the album, but I have very low expectations.
I don't think I will, to be honest. There's so much good. I don't like. I listened to the Lloyd Banks album this past week. It dropped a few weeks ago. Oh my gosh.
Lloyd Banks dropped the album.
Lloyd Banks that is an incredible project. Lloyd Banks is rapping his ass off. There's this niche of like really lyrical, like BC tier rappers from our youth who have just like carved out like this projects with the loyal fan base that are delivering great bodies of work, man. Like, well, Jadakiss obviously, Lloyd Banks, Immortal Technique, Brother Ali. I don't know if you listen to Brother Ali, but I love him. Vinny Paz and Jedi Mind Tricks are dropping a new project. I even saw there's a trailer for a new Army of the Pharaohs project. You know what Army of the Pharaohs is, right?
Nope.
Army of the Pharaohs is Jedi Mind Tricks and cannabis.
Oh, okay.
So they dropped like 2 projects back in the 2000s. So it's taking me back those days. I'm like, this is the music I love. So even when I was watching the BT Awards, I was rapping every word for like with those throwback performances. Like this was my time. If there's any music I understand through and through, it's this time here. And I was explaining the references. I was like, oh, Free was on 106 and Bach. Oh, the reason they're talking about this is because this person had a beef with this person and this person did this. Yeah, dude. Incredible stuff. Speaking of Glorilla, you know what? Speaking of surgeons, and have you seen Glorilla's performance yet? Have you gone that far into the show?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, then I saw it coming out in a smooth criminal suit. I was like, okay, girl, I see you, my boss.
Then she turned around.
Then she turns
It was
around.
like,
and she's like, you see with the new BBL, you see?
I remember, like, also they did well in hiding it because she looked like she was in a tux, like a normal tux.
I've never been so shocked to see cheeks like that in my life. I was like, what? What's that necessary? You know, like, I'm a man's man. You know, I love cheeks more than most men. And even I was like, was this necessary? Did we need, I feel like that took away. I feel like the assless tuxedo was a bit much. I feel like we've gone a bit far.
What a prude you are, Phil. What a prude. In front of Kirk Franklin. Like, come on, Glow.
Fam.
You were just about to receive your best gospel award. Like, Glow.
Fam, that is the wild part. That is the wild part. The person who won best gospel was shaking ass cheeks on the stage 30 minutes before.
So, okay, one other thing that I kind of wanted to address was at some point, they did the best new artist, and then they did all the nominees. I recognize Shabuzi, Teddy Swims, and Ira Star, and Leon Thomas, who actually won.
I'm not gonna lie, the fact that Leon Thomas won over Shabuzi is wild. Shabuzi,
I think an argument can be made. I do think Mutt is a huge song. But Shabuzi had a bigger song. But then some people would say, but that's a country song. And it's not really black music.
Tipsy was number one for almost a year.
Phil, you're trying to apply quantitative, objective measurements to popularity.
Also, Leon Thomas isn't that new. That's not the thing.
None of them are new. But what I have to say is it really hit me how unplugged I am. Because I don't know who 41, D Bills, Big X the Plug, Bossman D-Lo.
You're not a Big X the Plug? I know. Dude, I mean, you gotta listen to Big X the Plug. He's incredible.
I've seen his name. I don't know a single song.
I'm the biggest, the baddest. Him and Bossman D-Lo, those are my dudes. Those are my gym bros. And
I had to think critically. It's obviously not Bossman D-Lo.
It's Bossman D-Lo, yeah.
Obviously, it has to be D-Lo. Because I've never heard it in my life before that awards.
You're washed. You are really washed.
I am washed. What has Bossman D-Lo been on, Phil? I don't know. Like, tell me something. Tell me someone I know he's collaborated with.
Wham. He's got a song with Wham.
Wham.
You know who Wham is?
Wham, as in the pop group from the 70s.
No, Lil Baby.
Oh, okay. To be fair, I don't listen to Lil Baby either, so. Anyway. Let me see. Is there anything else interesting that happened at the BET Awards that we could talk about? There's a couple of things. Yeah. So our very own Madam Boss was present. Looking great, you know, clearly working out. And, you know, done up, dressed up, all of that. I want to address okay. So sometime during COVID, you'll probably remember from our Zimbabweans doing a big segment that Madam Boss was also nominated for an award.
She won.
Oh, she won the BET award for. I can't remember. It was some
online personality.
Yeah, like online personality thing.
Yeah.
So she's obviously on the BET Awards radar, and she probably got an invite, and she was present, and she was on the red carpet, and she was obviously, as anyone would do, but especially someone who makes their money by being an influencer online, she took photos with famous people and posted them up. I don't understand why people were so pressed. I couldn't quite understand why people were so upset.
You know I didn't.
Okay, you say I know why. The theory that I have is because people feel that she doesn't deserve to be there. Now, first of all, I want to say it's not that big a deal to take photos with celebrities. Anyone would do that. It's not an accolade that you have to earn, that you feel needs to be deserved. Do you know what I mean? If you happen to find yourself in LA, you could very well take a ton of photos with some of the biggest celebrities around. We know why she was invited to the BET Awards. She has one. I think there's some people who feel that because she's, for lack of a better term, very Zimbabwean in her content, in the way she presents herself. She's very, very Zimbabwean. I think that's how I'd like to put it. Some people feel that, she shouldn't be there. She doesn't deserve it. Or I just saw like a lot of people having very, very negative. Now, I don't consume her content. Frankly, I don't fully know what she's famous for, but I know she does skits. I just couldn't name the skits. So I have no dog in this fight. But I just think that we all need to calm down a little bit. She went to a big party and she took some photos with celebrities because she had an invite, because she's won an award.
But who is we that I can say with a great deal of confidence? I'm pretty sure the people that are listening to this podcast, I would be flabbergasted. My gals would be flabbered if someone that listened to this podcast was actively commenting under the Zim Celebs post negging Madam Boss.
Fair. I just thought I would mention it because, as you know, Phil, I don't really post stuff anymore about my opinions because I've got a podcast. So when I see some stuff, I'm like, I'm going to talk about this on the podcast. So granted, it may not be that big an issue, but it's something that I noticed and I thought like, I was actually going to mention in Zimbabweans doing it big, where I was going to mention, hey, shout out to Madam Boss for being at the BET Awards. Ha ha ha. Then I was going to say, also, that's not really a doing it big because you were just an attendee and attending a thing is not.
That's why I try to say I try to nudge you away from saying that.
But the reason why I wanted to say it is, but while we're on the topic, like, y'all can calm down. Don't be like, she was there. It's fine. She took some photo. It's okay. It's it's fine.
I think people don't, as DJ Head says, people that don't participate in the industry love to comment like they understand the industry and they don't. Like, you guys have no idea how, simply because you have some level of proximity or you feel you have an affinity or know these people, guys have no idea how this industry works. I can tell you one thing. And as much as Dan mentioned, I know Madam Boss from an academic level because I run an agency. I have to know what she's doing. Her content is not for me. It never will be for me. I don't hate her. She's a nice person. I've bumped into her a couple of times. She's been very, very civil, very, very, very dope. Happy that she was smart. And smart not only in securing a nomination or winning the award, but smart in the fact that she's managed to continue to find a way to get back to these awards. And people don't understand how difficult that is. That is incredible level of hustle and drive and determination. Just because you've been invited to the award, they're not flying you there. They're not covering your hotel. They're not helping you with your visa.
Maybe as a nominee and winner then, but definitely not now.
No, yeah. Even then, it's not possible. Unless it's part of the televised awards, they're not flying. They might help you with a hotel. They'll be like, yeah, cool. If you get here, we've got your hotel covered. We'll sort out some meals for you, etc. But yeah, we're not going to drop 6,000 plus to get you and your team here, or you and the team member here. So she has to figure out a way to get to LA, house herself in LA, get an outfit, wardrobe, makeup, travel, logistics, the works. That is not an easy feat for someone who's plying their trade in the Zimbabwean entertainment industry, especially as a online comedian. And she figured out a way to do that multiple times. Shout out to her. So if I'm not even going to lie, if I've now found a way to find 10, $20,000, whether in cash or in kind, to get to LA, to get as that dope dress, to look as good as I looked, to get on the red carpet, to get into that theater. You know what I'm going to be doing? I'm going to be filling up my camera roll, because you know what that guarantees me? It guarantees me an in. And she's playing this game really smart. Because you know what's going to happen when I've got a selfie with Tyler Perry or multiple selfies with Tyler Perry? I'm going to tag him in my post. Then I'm going to send him a message. Yo, Tyler Perry, was so lovely meeting you. Thank you so much. Blah, 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 blah. He might not see it, but the fact that you now have a photo with him, he's now inclined to be like, oh, okay, I remember this person. I might have liked the cut of a jib. And then next thing you know, Madam Boss is in Straw too. Speaking of, have you watched Straw, the new Tyler Perry movie?
Can you respect me, Philip?
I don't know. There's a YouTube channel called Double Toasted. So Double Toasted are famous for doing. They do like roasts. They roast like bad movie reviews, and it's hilarious. So, but they normally do older movies, and so they've got a movie review which they do for current movies. So, like if Mission Impossible drops, they'll go watch Mission Impossible, then they'll do a review. They were like, this one here is it's a 2-for-1, because this movie is so bad we don't have to wait. We're gonna review it and roast it at the same time because this movie was bad. And they're talking about Straw. Oh, it was hilarious. But what I found even more hilarious is after watching that review and then seeing the commentary online, and then I saw Tyler Perry's speech where he was lying about how eloquent his 3-year-old speaks, walking in the sand and all that. Then
I was also like, man, I think the roll eyes per minute count was off the charts.
But I love, like, he speaks like a preacher. I was like, okay, I see. But then when he basically blatantly flaunted the fact that, yo, shout out to black women for eating up all the trauma I produce. You guys support me. I went to #1 twice, and I'm dropping another movie, and I know you're gonna make it go #1 again. And then I was also thinking, like, yo, Tyler Perry is waving a very big stick. Because keep in mind, Dan, remember, Tyler Perry had an exclusive deal with BET Online and BET Plus to create content for them. He's on a BET platform at the BET Awards, the biggest show the BET has, and he's advertising not 1, not 2, but 3 Netflix movies on BET.
Yeah, I mean, he said I've made more black millionaires than any other studio. So, you know, say what you want about Tyler Perry. He's contributing to the industry somehow. But I'm actually insulted that you asked me if I watch Straw. It's not even funny. Since what do you think of me here? Anyway, moving on from the BET Awards.
Wait, sorry. I just want to make sure I covered it. Oh, the Jamie Foxx tribute. That was amazing. I loved it. I loved his speech. I loved the tribute. That was dope. I was a bit disappointed that Snoop didn't get a tribute.
Did you watch Jamie Foxx's last special?
You mean his therapy session?
Yes.
Yes, I watched the therapy session.
Obviously, when you almost die and you survive, it's a big deal to you. But I think as an entertainer, you kind of also know that it was 2 days of news for us.
It was longer than that.
I'm exaggerating for effect, hyperbole, the whole deal. You know how it is. But my point is, it was a brief news item. Your biggest fans would have been worried for a while until we got news that you were okay, and then we're happy to see you out again. Man, like your whole special was about that. And then your speech at the beat, and poor Stevie Wonder had to try get you off stage, and you still were like, nah, I got one more thing to say, and you still going on about it. Like, brother, I get it. You're glad you're alive. You could have devoted 2 minutes to that, and then we could have done some other stuff. Like, maybe I'm being harsh.
You are.
But I got to a stage where I was like, God damn, we get it, Jamie. You're happy you're alive. But on another note, shout out his family.
I did find it interesting that the mother of the children wasn't there. Well, the mothers of the children were there. Or his current girlfriend.
I was wondering. I don't know his relationship status, but I assume the girl with the big hair is his girlfriend.
That's his daughter.
Okay, it's his daughter. All right, cool.
all of the light-skinned girls, the 3 light-skinned
So
girls, are his daughters.
I know the other daughter because she
Do you know
introduced
the
him
wildest
for the
thing?
special.
That's his youngest child. She's still in school. Damn, you're a wild.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's his youngest daughter.
In my defense, it was a low quality version. 360p.
Dan, if you watch the special, that's the same daughter that came out and played the guitar during the special.
Oh, I didn't. To be honest with you, I didn't finish that special. I couldn't take it anymore.
But yeah, speaking of, you just reminded me, Stevie Wonder can definitely see.
Phil, this is not a podcast for conspiracy theories.
No, Stevie, there's too many stories. There's too many stories of Stevie Wonder can see. But the fact that T.I. came out is like, yo guys, there was a teleprompter for Stevie Wonder's lines. Like, I don't understand. And also, when Stevie Wonder handed Jamie the award, keep in mind, he's in a noisy auditorium. He doesn't have a walking stick, nothing. He gave it straight to Jamie. He didn't like put it out and be like, take it. He handed it to him.
Jamie made fun of that, right? Did he? Anyway.
But
Anyway.
So I love the tribute. The Snoop tribute, which I'm sure you're going to get to, was incredible. Glad to see that
not
him
yet
and Warren
added,
G have, I don't know if they've reconciled, but they made up. What else did I love about it? The Kirk Franklin thing. I love the T.I. performance. All in all, I think all the performances were great. Like, the fact that they were able to get Mariah out, the fact they were able to get Kendrick and SZA, Kirk Franklin, like all the black A-listers, I think they addressed all the major complaints I've had with the BET Awards for the past 3 years, which is like, yo guys, these are becoming Zimmy Pop Awards. You know what I mean? Like, they just felt like you guys didn't care about them anymore. And I think,
no offense,
in my opinion, though you found it cringy, I loved Kevin Hart as a host. I think Kevin Hart was actually a little too on the script, and I can only understand why, but I feel like there were a lot of times where he could have riffed off like the acceptance speech. Like, you notice, like after Doechii gave that incredible speech calling out the protest, Kevin Hart just came out.
I know the executives were like, the first speech, damn. But shout out Doechii.
But I found it hilarious or cringy. Is that the word? That in the beginning of the show, you've got Doechii calling out Trump and the protests happening in LA. On the same night, Snoop Dogg is given a Lifetime Achievement Award when he was just with Trump, and he never apologized or explained anything.
Didn't he put out a tweet or something where he said like my bad or something like that?
No, he was talking about the Kendrick thing. He just said, you guys don't understand. You guys are just talking about me, blah, blah, blah. He just got defensive and dismissed it.
So here's the thing, right? I don't think you can run something like an awards show. You probably expect that in this crowd, mostly of black people, probably most people are anti-Trump, but there's some pro-Trump people in there. You can't say in this award, if you are going to if you have recently been a friend of Trump, then you're like, that's not going to happen, man.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, I just found it interesting that they the awards were booked in that fashion. And I think obviously it's more so for black Americans to figure out because it's their culture primarily, but like, how do they deal with forgiveness and how do they deal with people that they feel were line steps? Because if you remember, Janelle Monáe, when she performed, was it Super Bowl? Yeah, it was a Super Bowl after party. During her performance, during the Super Bowl after party, Nelly was in the building. Ashanti's boo and baby daddy was in the building, and she was performing Hot in Her. And during the performance, she cussed out Nelly.
Yep, I remember.
So where was that energy for Uncle Snoop? Anyway.
Quick news story about Silent Owl. Silent Owl. Silent Owl.
Yeah.
Now watch me wimp. Watch me nene.
I'm trying my best not to make a very bad prison joke, but yeah.
Today we found out that Silent O has been sentenced to 30 years in prison after having been found guilty of shooting and killing his cousin by the name of Rooks.
Yeah, we actually covered this when he first got arrested for this about 2 years ago, I think.
2021, so 4 years ago.
Time's flying, yes.
But he has pled guilty but mentally ill. So it includes a voluntary manslaughter charge and several other offenses. So he's got a 30-year prison sentence. Apparently, he shot his cousin, Frederick Rooks III, basically out in public. Yeah, so that's wild. It's one of those situations like, hey, whatever happened to that guy? Whatever happened to that guy who made that song that everyone was playing and dancing to? Yeah, so in case you were wondering, that's what happened to that guy. I don't know if there's much to say there, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Jeez. Oh, actually, I was going to speak to you off air, but maybe I'll speak to you about it here. But maybe we'll have it off air. So you saw Marcus Houston at the awards.
I did.
So
I did see him.
I see. Is he no longer?
I don't know because I was like, okay, so Marcus Houston some years ago got married to, I think we spoke about it on this podcast. He got married to Mia, I think,
which was 19.
She was 19 and he was 40 something or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were accusations of they started dating when she was like 16 or something. And he's like, no, they didn't. Yes, they knew each other, but they only started dating after she turned 18, which every time you hear that, it's like...
My manager's on the clock like, okay, 3 more days, tick, tick, tick.
Anyway, they got married, they had kids. And so when I saw him, I was like, wait, I haven't heard anything about him, or because I follow him on Instagram. I think. Well, I followed him on Instagram. So I was like, wait, I haven't seen nothing about this dude for like nothing. So quick Google told me, my man's been quiet. I think something's happened in that marriage. Because
yeah, apparently in January she was like, she voluntarily took the yellow card, or she wanted to take the red card.
But did she leave him?
I don't know. I think so.
Because I couldn't find, there was no news reports about it. I saw a couple of people tweeting, but it's mostly people who obviously didn't know what they were talking about, but there were rumors about, I'm so glad that Mia's finally left Marcus. And then someone asked, how do you know she left? Because, she's posting stuff without him in it. I was like, I mean, I can understand the reasoning. It's a bit circumstantial. Anyway, it was just an interesting quick side note. I thought that was funny. So I don't know. But I remember seeing that and I was like, wait, what happened to this dude? While we're in the realm of American artists, let's just quickly wrap up, and I think it will also dovetail perfectly into a Zimbabwean artist. Some people spoke about it in our group as well. So Timbaland is in some drama.
Timbaland's been moving shady for a while. It's been very disappointing.
So what's the story here?
I hate to say this, especially considering everything that's happening in Kozesh, but Timbaland's been moving like someone with severe tax debt for a while now. It started with, I think his partnership with BeatStars was always a bit shady. Like he was encouraging artists to sign up for BeatStars to send him beats, and then he'd take their beats and then repackage them and relicense them and then give them a small licensing fee. Then there was the Triller deal, which I don't think they've been fully paid for yet because last time they were going to court and then Triller hadn't posted a profit and they were about to go insolvent and then they had a buyout. Then there's the deal he did with Akai where he made Akai machines that were supposed to be limited edition. And then people started scurrying to buy them and reselling them. And then 6 months later or a few months later, Akai just released them to the general public. So they weren't a limited edition device. And then what else has he done that's been a little shady in recent months? There's something else I feel. But it all culminated with this. So he then came out and said he was partnering with our friends at Suno. And they was to create an AI record label. And they had signed their first AI artist called Tata, who was going to be making A-pop.
AKA artificial pop.
For artificial pop, which was also weird because Tata looks Asian. So, play on K-pop, I guess, but was kind of dodgy. And he was tone deaf to people saying like, dude, you're Timbaland. Why would you promote this? This is a really bad move. This is terrible. Like, not only are you co-signing the death of creativity, because I don't know if we spoke about it on the podcast. Remember a couple of months ago, the Suno
Controversy.
CEO,
Yeah.
came out and was basically saying like making music is tedious and difficult, and now we're trying to make it easy again. And we're like, it's supposed to be difficult. That's why it's a skill. And AI Timbaland was now pretty much saying the same thing. And in fact, let me load it up. Let me see if it's still on this page. Instead of responding to the complaints, and these complaints are not coming from fans, they're coming from his peers, like Young Guru. Young Guru, you'll know, is Jay-Z's longtime producer and studio engineer. He responded with this.
I know we got off on the wrong foot before, but I think it's best we try again.
No, I think he took it down. This is the one after the one. He basically brought out, he dropped a video saying, why are you guys worried about me stealing your stuff? Your music isn't good enough for me to steal anyway.
AI is ruining music.
There we go. Here we go.
Whatever.
Oh, sorry.
Is this Tata speaking?
No. This is a series of animals that he made in Google VO.
AI is ruining music. Whatever. Go ahead and cry me a river, since Timbo Stamp is on that too.
Y'all crying about AI taking your spot, but your songs barely mix. Why would we train it on that?
Man, y'all scared of AI, but record every hook in Melodyne.
Auto-tune is AI, baby. Y'all just didn't complain till it started writing better hooks than you. Timbo ain't the villain. He just not babysitting y'all no more. You want opportunity, but ain't got output.
You worried about AI stealing your sound? Bro, you ain't got one.
Who am I kidding? I ain't had no bars to begin with.
That was great. And he posted this to his page. I thought this was a troll. Like, this was really in poor taste. So that was the first thing. Then he did like a 4-hour live session where people discussed. And I think there's someone that really brought this up really well. Let me bring up this video. I think it's a pianist called Jenny. She really covered this and surmised the issue very, very well. Listen, why does it make it so difficult to find videos these days? That's why I should try downloading them. Here we go.
It's not even about the money. It's about the fact that we're conditioned to not value ourselves or our music. And we're so comfortable living in this area where we're just doing what we're told. And then we have to think of other ways, like building pipelines, like selling merch and building worlds and doing all of this other stuff.
So this is Jane Lee. She's a pianist who's worked with Timbaland before.
We can't fight for ourselves and look, I started piano when I was 2.5 years old. By the age of 9, I was practicing 6 hours a day to play a Bach fugue. And I went on that stage and I did that. And to this day, I'm 44 years old. I have put in 30,000, 40,000 hours to perfect my craft. And here we are like talking about AI. We cannot fight it. We cannot fight against it. But however, we can be responsible. We can be responsible with the way that we use it. For you, for me, for all those other kids that are also practicing and producing or writing or playing that bass or whatever it is. I'm asking for clarity. I'm asking for transparency. I'm asking that us as creatives, we should be the first in line to advocate for one another and not be fighting against each other, because kind of we are right now. Oh, this is where you do this. This is how we can do this. Why can't we get together and figure out a way to do this together? You know, I'm just saying, like, I know we are all in this dogfight because everyone feels like they're competing against each other because there's no money. There's no money in streaming. So then we're taught, let's go somewhere else. Let's go do this. Let's go figure this out. Let's go to Patreon. Why don't we band together? Tim, you are so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
You are so powerful. You have a voice. You have a platform. Why can't we band together to make things fair? And in terms of AI and Suno, I know you said that you cannot prompt an artist. I went into Suno. I sat with you, and you taught me how to use Suno. And I went and I got off the FaceTime with you, and I was able to prompt it to sound like Chris Brown. I was able to prompt it. And if you, I know you were saying, show me, I will show you how to do it. So if all these artists are giving up their intellectual property for free, and people are monetizing and claiming it to be theirs, where is the integrity in music going to go?
That's a good point.
And if we just sit here and let it happen, then we are a part of the problem. You cannot fight against AI, I get it, but we can fight to make it fair.
Okay,
that's true.
Yeah, she goes on, but I think ultimately that's one of the reasons why we stopped playing that intro. Also because Suno will quit stealing.
I have complex thoughts here. Okay. I recognize that there's a wide range of how people view music. So, have you ever spoken to someone who could be described, Phil, as artsy or like really plugged into the art world?
You know what my job is, right?
Yes, I'm not. This is not a question. This is a setup. To that person, okay. Wait, actually, I watched Sinners. Have you watched it?
Yeah.
So
I told you to watch it last week. What do you mean?
I couldn't remember if you'd watch it. So, you know how the premise of that movie, and no spoilers if you haven't watched it, but the premise of that movie is about how deep and spiritual music can be and the kind of connections that it can make and the kind of spiritual things it can summon. There's that viewpoint that exists, that people feel that there's a soul, a spirit, something that's more than just keys and algorithms and, you know, and various, you know, synthetic sounds. There's like a feeling that comes from the soul and the heart and the spirit of a person. And then there's other people who have a lot more of a logical or practical view, which is literally, you know, music is something that sounds good when certain notes that sound good together are put together. You put them together, it sounds good. Great, we made a song. Obviously, across that wide range of viewpoints as to what music is, I don't know what's right or wrong, which is the right viewpoint, which is not. But you can imagine how they would have such hugely different reactions to artificially made music. So I don't like the concept or idea of AI music. It's not appealing to me. Even if it sounds good, I don't like the fact this is a song I'm listening to that was made artificially. Wouldn't have, even if it's immaculate, it doesn't hit the same as an artist whose story I know and whose history I know, who has put together this piece of work that relates to their life and how it relates to mine. There's such a huge difference between those two things. So I don't like the idea that a song can just be made from AI. However, the fact that the technology exists means we can expect that people will use it. What I would have hoped from someone like Timbaland is, okay, you want to be on the cutting edge of making music. You want to use the technology that exists now to make the best music possible. I would have wanted him to use these generative tools not to make a beat or make an artist, but to prompt ideas or to discover potential sounds from instruments that don't even exist, or to discover certain combinations of notes and keys that probably have never been used before. But damn, this is interesting. Like, I would want you to use those tools to do that, as opposed to create an artist who's entirely artificial and create a genre which is artificial pop, which, like, to me, that feels very cheap. And I expect it to happen, but I also expect that audiences and consumers down the line would view that as a cheap. It's like it wouldn't be valued as high art. And someone who's got such a legacy as Timbaland, I would want to. Anyway, I'm trying to put all my thoughts together, and I think that kind of captures it a little bit somehow.
But everything you've just said is exactly why Timbaland is wrong, because the generative models as they currently exist cannot do what you just described. They cannot create anything novel. All they can do is recreate. They do pattern recognition. They figure out what patterns to do, and then they just recreate those patterns based on your prompt.
Of course. So, by the way, just to clarify, I'm not saying that I want them to create new things. I'm saying I want him to use the tools so that Timbaland creates new things, and he's using these tools.
And it's also heavily ironic that you're using Timbaland, because Timbaland is synonymous for creating new sounds in extraordinary ways, because that is the genius of being a human. And we've discussed this many a times on this podcast. We've discussed it with the Studio Ghibli most recently, but we're in dangerous territory when people's intellectual property, people's creative styles, people's creative talent, things that they've spent years, as Jane mentioned there, thousands upon tens of thousands of hours honing their craft to become better at what it is that they do. And these models just ingest this without any compensation or any credit and steal people's work. And then they sell that on for profit. It's disgusting. And the fact that you have someone who should be advocating for artists, there's absolutely nothing wrong with using tools. Technology moves, right? It's not on the consumers. Well, ideally, to a certain degree it is. But the consumer does hold a certain bit of responsibility of like, hey, this tool that I'm using, how did it source its data? Sadly, if you're not using some form of AI or LLM tool, depending on your profession, you might be not as proficient as your coworkers or people in your field, and then you're falling behind. So
I would argue almost every profession.
Yeah. So it's not like it's difficult to take a moral stand. Like, I can't use this tool because they store people's data, but everyone else is using it now. Your boss is looking at your production and is like, man, everyone else has done 5 reports this week. Why are you only on 2? It's not a good look. So you've got to make a decision in that form or fashion. And on top of that, it's very difficult to figure out where your position in this ecosystem is. But ultimately, on the creator side, it's very easy. I'm creating this work. I know I've contributed to this database you guys are stealing from. I haven't been compensated. Therefore, I would expect my peers to hold the line and protect our work. Like, capitalism is always going to capitalize, but the counterbalance to the capitalism should be people advocating for their rights and their work. And it's disheartening, discouraging, and downright disgusting when someone who's a leading voice in your field basically crosses the picket line, and crosses the picket line so blatantly and so bluntly and is so tone deaf. It's saddening, man. It's really saddening.
I don't know if I would put it that strongly, because I don't believe, okay, we've said this about art before, and okay, the jury's out for if this qualifies as art, but I don't believe there's anything that shouldn't exist. I believe that if it is possible to do something, there shouldn't be, barring things that actually hurt people directly, there shouldn't be a restriction from things existing because people don't like it or think it's not great. What should happen is, if it does exist, people can then choose not to support it, and therefore it reduces the incentive for it to exist. So I don't know if I would say that I feel like Timbaland's crossing the picket lines, but I do understand the sentiment behind it.
So let me put it this way, Dan, and maybe I'm not articulating myself well. There was an SGA strike a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, they went 6 months without producing anything. No
Yeah.
TV shows, no movies. What is one of the major things that they were fighting for?
One of the major things that they were fighting for was protections for themselves in the wake of AI.
Right. So, and I'm trying to remember who it was that said this. Vince Staples has touched on it, but there was someone else who had an interesting talk that I watched recently about this. And it was basically like, this is the major issue that the music industry is facing right now is A, because there's no union, and B, because people aren't advocating for their rights properly. The SGA fought to protect actors and creatives. And this is across the line. So in a funny and not a funny, but in a coincidental, everything's connected, weird trip, Timbaland used Google VO3 to create that trolling video where these animorphs were basically insulting artists that the music wasn't good enough. And that's part of the reason why SGA was fighting against them, because there's a Rebecca Stern, I think Rebecca Stern from New York Times, she did a report like last week where she made a short movie using Google VO only. It wasn't great, but it was a proof of concept. And in part of the interview that she was doing is, this might, even with the SGA rules, it might not affect how they make movies, but it will affect, for example, makeup artists or special effects artists. So if, say, Dan is in a movie where he's got to have scars on his face because he fought a lion once, all the makeup artist needs to do is apply that once. They'll then map those makeup effects to his face, and every other day he pitches up on set as normal, and then they'll add the makeup in post. That means a makeup artist now is no longer getting paid for the duration of the shoot. They're only getting paid once. So that's a decimation of their revenue.
Okay, but do you think that shouldn't happen?
Let me finish my point. So basically what they're covering there is the unintended consequences of this. So what the SGA did is allow room for people to understand the consequences and people to prepare and be like, okay, technology is moving in this direction. With the advent of CGI, for example, practical effects and modelers who would blow up little like models of trains and cars and whatnot, their work was reduced because more people now opted for CGI effects versus practical effects. So technology always moves forward. But ideally, people should be able to protect themselves in some form or fashion. The analogous now is with the music industry, is no one has stopped production of music. No artists have stopped production of music. No artists have fought against and say, hey, we know this AI thing is here. We know these tools exist. We know this is what's going to happen. Cool. How are we protecting ourselves? Wait a minute. We've caught you guys stealing our works. Suno, you are in court for stealing our works. We're not working with you until you resolve this issue because you've stolen our work. Ideally, that's what should happen. But Timbaland is already like I said, crossing the picket line and working with people that have stolen his work.
But here's where I push back. The accusation is that Suno has stolen their
It's
work.
not an accusation. It's
Hold on.
proven. It's in court.
It's in court because it's an accusation. But hear me out. The definition of stealing is very easy when it comes to physical.
No, actually,
but it's
they paid a settlement. Let me pull it up. But anyway, yeah, we were thinking about there's an initial settlement and then there was another court case. But yeah,
they may have paid a settlement, and it could be for specific things. In fact, in my understanding, it is for specific things. It's just like right now, the New York Times is taking OpenAI to court, right? And it's for a specific thing, and it could then lead to later on discussions about, does it apply to AI in general? But it's very difficult to define what stealing is in this case. So, for example, this software listened to your music and then made its own music based on what it learned from listening to your music. In my opinion, I think it's only fair that there must be compensation, especially if there's money involved. But I wouldn't necessarily call that stealing. Others might disagree with me. And they would be fair to do so because I don't think there's a very clear definition of what is and isn't stealing. We could look at a very legal definition, and if there was a lawyer here, maybe they would look at specific wording and so on that exist in laws. But those laws were probably written without the current technological environment that we're in. So I think all of us can probably sit and probably come up to a different degree somewhere in the spectrum of what is defined as stealing. Because when I think about it, This piece of technology learned from already existing works to create something new. Now, the new, again, is something that's very difficult to define because it's not something that exists, but it's got parts of something that exists. There's so many nebulous things that are very difficult to define in all of this. So I don't think it's as straightforward as saying these AI companies stole. I do think there is unfair practices, and there are some things that can definitely be called stealing. But as a general answer, I don't think it's that straightforward. With this specific thing, I'm more disappointed in Timbaland in the manner in which he's doing this, as opposed to the fact that he's doing it. Because I do think that the next wave of big-time producers are going to be the ones that are embracing AI tools. So I expect that the next big producer, okay, this is a good pivot actually into one of the sought-after music video directors right now is Juicer Dementa. I obviously don't want to get into too much detail because, again, these are people that we know and interact with and deal with. But Juicer Dementa right now, his pitch is that he's doing AI music videos. He just did one for Busy Signal, by the way. Just prior to that, he did one for Nyasha David, Takura, and Hilsey. And he did one for Winky D, which we spoke about on this podcast as well. I don't like the way that they are made. But I can understand someone saying, look, I'm trying to get, this is what we, corporations and capitalism is not going to ignore a cheaper method of achieving the goal that they have, that is veiled through technology. At the same time, I can fully understand artists, actors, video directors, and so on also wanting to protect themselves. One, by trying to make sure that they're fairly compensated if their work was somehow used in the development of these tools. But also two, like, I don't want to not earn money anymore because now you found a cheaper way of doing it. People were demonstrating using this new VO3. They were making fake commercials. And they were like, listen, I used like $500 worth of credits to make this. It's an entire commercial. It's not perfect. You can clearly see it's not perfect, but it's damn near close. And it might have cost several $100,000 to shoot this kind of commercial in the past. As these tools get better, we can anticipate in a year, 2 years, 3 years, it will be close enough to perfect that you're not going to be paying several $100,000 and there's entire industries that will be decimated. Should society be trying to protect those industries so that they're not decimated? Or should the stealing conversation is a separate one because I think fair compensation must exist. But if a new technology now exists, it's now there. This new technology is now there. And it can make this particular thing that used to cost more, can make it much cheaper. But unfortunately, that decimates entire industries. Should that technology not exist? I don't believe so. I think it should exist. But you also mentioned something interesting, which I think maybe I also need to add a little bit more into my reckoning, which is like unintended consequences. So it's like Uber, right? Uber comes into a place where taxis already existed. It's great for consumers because what? We're paying half the price of what we used to pay for taxis. But Uber, in the meantime, is making a loss deliberately to push out all those taxis so that eventually they can increase their prices. So now what's happened is all those people that had legitimate taxi businesses that were registered and they were regulated, now it's just random people who are doing, what you call them? Gig economy. Gig economy that also reduces contributions to tax, that also reduces things like healthcare and so on and so on. And now you have entire sections of the population that are at risk because of the unintended consequences. So that's an example of a place where technology was useful and it replaced a legacy system, but the unintended consequences caused obviously greater hurt overall. So it also is something to consider and figure out how it plugs in. But like you also said, technology will move forward. It won't stop it. So I can see why Timbaland has, listen, I've always been the innovator. I've always been the one to introduce the new sounds, to introduce new technology into the world of beat making. So why wouldn't you expect me to be using AI? But I am kind of disappointed at the way he's doing it.
And that's the issue. And I think ultimately, I don't necessarily disagree with everything you're saying. I agree with what you're saying, and especially the premise. What I am saying is, and even the term unintended consequences, I've become somewhat jaded to that because with the example of Uber, for example, those were intended consequences. They knew what they were doing. Their whole business model was this. We're going to lose billions, kill the competition, and then make our money. It was the same with Amazon. Amazon it was an intended consequence. They were like, we're going to wipe out everyone else, and then we're going to control the market. And as we've discussed on the show before with Cory Doctorow's theory of gentrification, we know what happens with capitalism. First, you are the service. Like, they provide you the service, then they create value for themselves, or they create value for their shareholders, and then they create value for themselves, and then they squeeze everyone else on the other side. So they squeeze the service providers and they squeeze the customers. We now have to consider, what does this do to creativity? When, as Jane was talking there in her talk, and Suno have told us what their game plan is here. If Suno succeeds, there is going to be no benefit outside of vocational hobby to learn how to play an instrument, which means learning to play an instrument will now simply be reserved for the wealthy.
Understood, but you can't then stop Suno from existing for that. Yeah.
So we are not legal experts, but it's been discussed very widely, the right to read, for example. And what seems to be the general consensus around legal scholars is, yes, there's a right to read and replicate for humans, because that's how art is created. It does not necessarily apply to machines, especially machines who are doing this at scales at an order of magnitude, thousands of times, sometimes millions of times faster than any human could possibly do. Like, if I'm a prolific reader, I may be able to do 2 to 3 books a day, and that's it. But I'm not. What's my retention rate going to be on those books? If it's above 50, I've got an incredible memory. These machines are ingesting millions of books on the hour and retaining all that information and then regurgitating it. What does that mean for everything that we've created? Is there does that now because the other thing is, like, we've now got to look at the economic benefits. Is there going to be an economic benefit in the next 5 years for an author to sit down and research for thousands and thousands of hours and write a book if AI exists? What does that mean for society? These are the questions that we need to have. I mean, discussions.
It's going to be an economic benefit for someone.
But that's the thing. It's going to squeeze out everyone in the middle and benefit the few at the top, which leads to the discussion I wanted to have about Mountainhead. But the whole point I'm getting to is, I totally understand technology moves forward. I totally understand tools helping artists be more creative and be more efficient, which is also a terrible byproduct of capitalism. Like, efficiency is the bane of our existence. Why do we have to be more efficient?
I agree with you, actually, but that's how it goes. Like, everything is like, it's insane to me that, you know, in these mega corporations that are selling billions of items of a particular product, and they calculate that, listen, if we reduce the size of this spoon by 10%, we save ourselves $1 million a year, so we're going to do it. Whereas the whole, when it was started, the idea was you could have a really nice spoon, comfortable spoon that you enjoy your product with. And then, like, it's all these little tiny efficient changes. Okay, actually we have 7 people doing this job, but we could have 6, especially if the 6th person does. Like, oh man, it just squeezes and squeezes and squeezes and squeezes, and we find ourselves in this situation.
Yeah. So my whole point being is, I would like to protect creative industries. You mentioned it in the beginning, and the premise of sin is, and I genuinely actually do believe that. I do believe that storytellers, creatives do have a special place. Ultimately, the Bible itself it's a creative literary work. People were inspired by the Holy Spirit to write the Bible. So what then happens if 5,000 years from now, the next version of the Bible is just AI regurgitation? You know what I mean? And that is what I want people to be cognizant of. I'm not saying don't use these tools. Personally, I don't feel comfortable using it anymore. We've explained why. I think we have a big enough platform and we advocate for artists. So it's not in my best interest. It's selfish, but yeah, it's not in my best interest. It's not in the interest of my artists, it's not in the interest of my label, it's not in the interest of people I work with, for me to use a product like Suno, because it deprecates everything I'm trying to work for. You on radio, I'm not sure how that works for you. But for me, I can't. It's difficult. You know,
I understand. And I'm trying to have also a difficult conversation. But life moves in the path of least resistance. especially capitalism, moves in the path of least resistance, as we've talked about. So I don't think something shouldn't exist. I don't think this incredible power to ingest thousands of books in a few minutes or in a day shouldn't exist.
I agree
think it should exist.
I am all for it, but my issue simply is the tech bros steal, and never compensate.
I think my position is there should be regulation to protect the average person and not to basically enrich the few people that have
Not only
unfettered
that,
access to this
just
technology.
compensate the rights holders. You know what it could be like. Even the copyright on existing music, the way it works, it's not forever. Sometimes it's a lifetime, sometimes it's 50 years plus 20, sometimes it's 7 years, depending on what area you're in. But it's a common held belief that the stuff you create is for the benefit of everyone. You have rights to it for a certain amount of time that allows you to be compensated for your work, but then thereafter, it belongs to everyone. And I agree with that totally. If, for example, AI just trained on open source and open domain data, this would be null and void. If all AI was trained on was Bach and Beethoven and everything else that's in open field, perfect, lovely, start there. And iteratively, as more and more things come into open domain, public domain, it will train on those. And the stuff that isn't in public domain, they should approach the rights holders and be like, hey guys, this is what we're trying to do with your work. Can we license it for this specific use? They would negotiate a rate and they'll be paid. But that's not what's been happening.
That solves one problem, but there's the other problem which you highlighted, which is, okay, so there's the issue of the rights holders, people who create, and they need to be incentivized to create. The other side of the problem is long-term, the good of society.
Not only incentivized to create, but just compensate for what they've created. Now, with regards to the good of society, some of these discussions are theoretical because we don't really know.
Honestly, we're cooked, Phil.
We don't know.
As a society, we're cooked. You can't tell me that you think we're going to be living in some utopia in 10 years because of AI.
Fam, we're going back to feudalism. We are hurtling.
We're cooked. We're cooked, bro.
Towards feudalism.
At least I want to have to go to work.
I was reading an article today that says the 5 richest men in America right now are collectively worth $1 trillion. Trump and Musk were beefing over, was it 3 trillion in the debt ceiling? Think about that, guys. It's wild. Anyway, let's move on. So anyway, Timbaland, very disappointing. Boo, boo, boo. Tomato, tomato, tomato. Mountainhead. I wanted to talk about this movie and TV, and it dovetails very nicely into this topic. Have you watched this movie, Dan?
I have not.
So Mountainhead was an HBO movie. A Max movie, whatever they call themselves. What a disaster. Yo, did you see
HBO Max?
Did you see that tweet? I didn't even confirm it, but did you see that tweet that McKinsey got paid like damn near $100 million to advise HBO to change the name from HBO Max to Max?
I doubt that's real. Obviously, what would have happened, there would have been consultation fees, not just to change the name, but for...
obviously they're ongoing, they're on retainer. McKinsey would obviously be on retainer. So, but anyway.
Yeah.
So Mountainhead dropped. Good premise. It's from the creator of Succession, which is why I watched it. And even the way it's shot, the dialogue, the way it's edited, it's like a long episode of Succession. I do feel that it could have been better, but the premise itself is very intriguing. It's essentially, there's 4 tech CEOs, and they go on a mountain retreat to a ski resort. And they happen to go to the poorest person's house. And they call him Soup, short for Soup Kitchen, because he's so poor. Guess how much this poor person that they call Soup Kitchen is worth? Guess.
Billions, I assume.
500 million. Next up is someone worth 50 billion. Then there's someone worth 90 billion who's like a Steve Jobs type character. Then you got like an Elon Musk type person who's worth 200 billion and his stock is rising. Then the inciting incident in this movie is the Elon Musk type character who's worth 200 billion has just released an AI social media tool. It's like an Elon Mark Zuckerberg hybrid. he released an AI tool that is so realistic, people can't tell the fake from the real. And now it's essentially brought upon like massive wars everywhere. So you've got the mayor of Paris being assassinated. You've got wars in Kazakhstan breaking out. You've got Mexico having riots because of all this fake news being created by this AI tool. And while all this is happening, they're like completely oblivious to it. They don't care. They're just measuring the size of their wieners by how much money they're worth. And they essentially they take down Belgium because Belgium now, the EU wants to call them in. So they're like, as a show of force, we're going to brown out Belgium. So we're going to take down their system. So with one call, they take out the systems in Belgium because they control the networks in Belgium. And then they try to pull out like a global takeover. They're like, yeah, we can take over everything except for China because, hey, China, I'm a one.
So you said Bezos greenlit this movie.
No, it's HBO, so it would be Zaslav.
Oh, okay. All right.
But you should watch it. It's also got Steve Carell. So it's got a bunch of good actors. But I found it disheartening and a little scary, but it also rang a little true that this is how the billionaires talk about us. Like they live in their own world. They don't see us as human beings. They see us as chess pieces. But yeah, it was an interesting watch. It could have been better, but it was an interesting watch. I won't spoil it for you, but yeah.
I'll check it out. I'll check it out. Especially since it's got Steve Carell in it.
So you said you watched Sinners. How was it?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Look, despite the unsettling feeling.
Did you have your NYT by your side when you watched it?
No. I was. I'm a big boy now. But yeah. But I mean, it was well put together. Okay. I understand celebrating it because it was a really well put together, black-made, black-led movie. But people are wilding a little bit. But it was a great movie. I think I would give it a solid. I'll give it 8, maybe even 8.5. The story, the acting, everything was dope. There were just a couple of plot holes that I had to be
which plot hole? Okay, so spoiler alert. We're gonna put it in the show notes. But yeah, spoiler alert. What are some of the plot holes?
So very briefly, you guys are telling me that these people stole money from the mob, rushed to this small town, and the day they arrived, they absolutely had to have a party that night.
Yeah, because they knew they didn't have long.
They somewhat addressed the reason why, but I was like, nah, come on. It feels because a good movie, to keep the pacing good, has a deadline. Right? It's one of the things that you have to introduce into your movie. That's how some people have time deadlines, some people have whatever. So it's good to introduce a deadline. So I understand why it's there. It was difficult to buy into the reason why. Firstly. Secondly, the urgency of everything was so urgent about the party. Like, we all love a good party, but like it felt difficult to buy into the urgency and the deadline because it was all premised on a big party.
I think that's the part you're missing. They kind of explained it in the movie, but essentially Smoke and Stack worked for the Irish and Italian mobs. They robbed the alternative mobs, which is why they had Irish beer and Italian wine, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The reason why they were rushing, and the reason why, for example, Smoke didn't want to take the plantation money because it's not real money, because they needed to flip that money quick. That's why in the middle of the night they were counting the books and they're like, yo, we've got pretty much like a week to flip this, because they couldn't stay long back home because they knew they were going to get caught. Like eventually the Italian mob and the Irish mob were going to figure out what happened. So they had to flip that money, convert the booze into cash, and then dip.
Okay, so but do you get what I'm saying? That the urgency is driven by the deadline. The deadline that is given is we need to throw a party tonight.
No, they need to start tonight. Because keep in mind, that truck had been there a couple of days. Because even when they go pick up Preacher Sam, they had been back for a day or two. Because Sam knew they were around. That's why Sam knew this weekend I'm going to get picked up by my cousins. That's why that's why the truck was hidden and the snake was keeping guard. The snake was essentially the guard for the booze. So they had been back for a couple of days. We don't know for how long, but they'd clearly set themselves a timeline that we're going to lay low for a bit, announce our return, announce the party. We've got 5 days or minimum amount of time to flip this booze into cash, and then we've got to get out of here.
I hear you. Now, remember, they had a conversation about the timeline where they were like, should we do it tonight? Are we ready for tonight? We're not ready. And then I think it was Smoke looks into the sky. He's like, no, but you wouldn't want to waste this damn sunlight, which I understand the reference, dope reference. By the way, my criticism is it was very difficult for me to buy into the deadline, but that's a minor, tiny.
And that's your headline. That's your headline issue. That's your headline issue. Like,
yes, because I'm sitting there thinking like, amazing movie. I just felt like, because I kept on thinking you can just have this tomorrow. If you're not ready, you can just have this tomorrow. But then, like I'm saying, this is a minor thing, and then I was trying to think like, okay, but why did I feel like I didn't fully buy?
But also keep in mind,
the urgency.
It was the weekend. So the reason why Preacher Sam was able to take the break was it was Friday night. So they only essentially have 2.5 nights to maximize revenue. So if you lose Friday, you only
remember also, they literally are going to recruit artists in this movie for this party.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? They basically accidentally discovered the cousin is really dope.
But keep in mind as well, this is during Prohibition. So the music was a plus. If you just told people, Wawa, they were coming regardless. Even if they were sitting in silence. As long as Kwane Wawa.
Anyway, it was honestly, these are just like tiny little nitpicks. I enjoyed them.
Okay, I was expecting us to have like a deep conversation. Okay, outside of the deadline, what are the takeaways you have?
I thought Haley Steinfeld was acting her butt off. I saw all the memes about her delivery of lines and whatever. And I was like, she was really believable as 1/8 black or whatever it was.
Octoroon.
Who like really wants to.
She's actually Octoroon. She's like in real life.
In real life, yeah. Which was where like in like someone who wants to be in that world.
But doesn't understand. Yeah.
It was dope. It was the I think Michael B. Jordan was great as both Smoke and Stack. It was a dope movie. I enjoyed it. I do think it was worth the hype, but I also think like in some situations, some cases, people were like going a little bit overboard.
Like where?
No, because I feel like people were talking about like, is this like the best movie in the past decade or whatever? And I was like, okay, let's just enjoy this movie.
But art is subjective, so people can think that. I think also, especially the discussions I've had with Black Americans that I've spoken to, I think especially that music scene. The reason why they love it so much is it gives them a sense of belonging that they don't have.
I'm not gonna lie, that music scene was incredible. Like it was transcendent. It was mwah. And it was amazing.
And they're like, it finally gives us like a sense of belonging, sense of understanding. So it's hitting a lot of touch points that resonates with them. So I respect that. The only criticism I actually have for that movie, I haven't watched it a second time. I want to watch it sometime, but I've just not been in the greatest mental space. Is Ryan Coogler doesn't know how to end his movies. That movie, like the double ending.
Like I feel that was, if this does well, there might be a sequel.
No, but he said there's no sequel, and I was like, I don't understand that last scene. What purpose does it serve?
So the other thing that always bothers me in this kind of movie, wherever there's someone who's like a metahuman or something, power scaling always bothers me. If you become strong, invulnerable, damn near immortal, all that, when you turn, you're not going to go toe-to-toe with a regular, normal human. That kept happening a little bit too much for my liking. Yeah, but again, tiny little things I'm nitpicking on.
Now that I
just
actually think about it, I don't think there was ever a display of superhuman strength from any of the vampires except the original guy. The other ones, all of the people that he turned on the night, they didn't seem to display superhuman strength.
They did do like the flying, or like the at least some.
Who else flew
super
besides
speed.
him?
Remember, old black dude who went out to go take a pee, and then
Cornbread. Cornbread did.
Yes.
All Cornbread did was get shot in the face. What else did he do?
Yeah, do you remember when they took that other body out, thinking he was dead, and then it turns out he was alive, and he like woke up and he was like, "Let me in," and then Cornbread came for him. Then,
but what
he
superhuman?
He basically flew across the air, and like it demonstrated some level of superhuman ability. Is what I'm saying.
I think that's fine. I need to go back to that scene, but I remember him running. I don't remember. Like I'm struggling to actually, now that you think about it, I'm struggling to remember a scene where any of the turned people displayed superhuman strength.
That's also valid. And okay, I've now just remembered the other thing that low key bothered me at the end of the movie. Remick, right? The Irish guy. He gets killed a few seconds before the sun comes out.
Mm-hmm.
If he hadn't been killed, he would have been there when the sun comes out, and all those other turned would have been there when the sun comes out. It's like, were they unaware that the sun is coming out? Or I also would have loved to see those Choctaw come back again in the movie. I thought they were.
They were minding their business. They were like, nah.
This ain't us. But I thought that was a dope. But yeah, anyway, minor things. Minor things. I think it was a dope movie.
Yeah, no, the subtext in that movie, I think one of my favorite scenes in that movie is when they're in the truck and Delroy Lindo's character, I'm forgetting his name now. What's his name again? Geez, I forget his name. Delroy Lindo's character is relaying the story of how his brother got lynched, and he starts going, because he's trying to like mask the pain, and then that turns into a blues song. And I was like, that's a perfect representation of how blues was born from trauma. Like that really.
Oh yeah. So like when the audio of what was going on, like he was telling the story, and you could hear the audio. Happen. Yeah. That was dope, and then it turned into a song. Yeah, you're right.
That movie was dope. Like I think Ryan Coogler's attention to detail, the way he's able to like weave in all these subplots and themes, like if he's able to continue on this trajectory, he's on quite a run, bruh. Ryan Coogler's on a run and a half.
So, what else? I think we can take advantage of this time to wrap it up, Phil.
Yeah, we said we're going to do a short episode, and it's now 2 hours. So,
oh my goodness, yeah. This would explain this.
There's a new
This would explain the increasingly slightly louder sounds coming from the next room.
We've got the new Nasha David. We've got some gems. Obviously, Jordan drops. Who else is going on in the music scene? I'll be speaking about Eli Banks' new project. I love that. Oh my gosh, the new Nasty C. And then the Usmane. And then Mash Beats got a new project as well. Bangers. So many bangers. Calvin Momo did a symphony. I know a couple of people. I was actually supposed to go there as well. Ish. That's what happens when people don't pay. Now I can't fly to these events. Tough times are lasting. Yeah, man. There's a lot of dope new music. I think I need to get back to making some playlists. Oh, there's a new K-Flow. Did you go to the Agri show?
No. I kinda not wanted.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but there's a lot of dope new stuff. So I'll probably make a playlist over the weekend if I get some time. It's been a bit of a hectic period, but yeah. We're not playing our music right now because licensing issues, I guess. Or let me see, what song can I give you guys? No, I can't do it right now. But we've got a Halu album dropping in a few weeks, and the Jeezy album is finally definitely dropping. So I'll maybe preview some of those songs.
Phil, I think we are tired of you lying to us. Let's just.
You see, the problem is it's not just my project. It's not just my project.
Please.
The project has been done. The project has been done for over a year. I've got it. It's done. I can send it to you right now.
Respect us and stop lying to us. That's my only request.
Okay, I can send you. If you're a patron and you're listening, I can send you the link right now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take advantage of this opportunity to end the podcast. Thank you once again for listening in to the brand new revamped, after being away for a couple of weeks, Two Broke Twimbos. We have a lot of these conversations. They morph and evolve out of our Patreon community. We have a WhatsApp group. You're welcome to join that WhatsApp group for the low cost of becoming a Patreon member or subscriber or making a donation. You can just head on over to broketwimbos.com/donate, and we would happily add you in, and you could join some of these conversations, watch parties, music listening sessions. In fact, we decided that since we're not playing new music on the podcast anymore, we're only going to do it in our Patreon group for people who want to listen to new music that we're feeling, especially new music from Zim. twobrokeTwimbos.com/donate, and you become a Patreon subscriber. The lowest tier is $5 a month. I think it's not crazy. You know what I'm saying? Just to support a podcast to continue going. Your support is greatly appreciated. Apart from that, please do, whenever you see anything Two Broke Twimbos related, like, subscribe, reshare, all of that. We've slacked a little bit on our video content, Phil.
Mm-hmm.
At some point in the future, we will be bringing it back, but not right now. But yeah, so if you do come across on social medias, please retweet, a comment would be lovely. Hey, drop us a tweet, drop us a comment in the Instagram post or whatever. Drop us a DM if there's something that you want to share with us. I really enjoyed like when people asked questions. Yeah, we can answer it on the podcast. Hey, send us something if you want. I haven't checked the DMs. There might be stuff in there, but yeah. And anything else I can think of? Not really.
No.
I think that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, man. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, we love you. Look after yourselves and stay warm this winter.
We're out.
Aha!